Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. This is your main man, Preacher Mars, the host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. Hope that you are having a tremendous Tuesday. We have some good news to report. If I didn't mention it yesterday, the cold-blooded killers, animals of Ahmaud Arbery down in Brunswick, Georgia, were sentenced to life in 10 years in one case, life in 7 years in one case, and 35 years. I think that's a straight 35 years. I don't know about the aspect of parole, but the 2 life sentences for the father and the son. They will never walk the streets of Georgia anywhere else. I guess the only thing they're worried about is whether they're going to federal prison or state prison. I'm going to advocate for them to be in state prison. I don't want them to be anywhere else. Also, lead story is that they have a suspect. I'm not saying this is the exact person that's been responsible for the shootings of Muslims down in Albuquerque, New Mexico, but they do have, I would say, a person of interest in custody in regards to the car that they were actually advertising. So an opportunity for the Muslim community to take a deep breath and take a sigh, inhale, exhale. But at the same time, this is a reminder, as I said yesterday, that we do need to be on our P's and Q's, that we have this situation that happened in a very short time, if you will, that there's a pattern or possibly we're dealing with a serial killer, does not denote the fact that we have Muslims that have been assaulted, Muslims that have been murdered, Muslims that have killed other Muslims. We have this thing out here with intentionality that we're not actually looking at in terms of the welfare of this community. So while we do throw up the Confederate Union, we yell, yeah, yippee, yippee for this situation, it does underscore that we have a serious scenario going on in society, which is violence towards Muslims and in the inner city, not in the inner city, but within the Muslim community. We also talk about violence of Muslims towards other Muslims. So let's not be hypocritical. We need to look at ourselves as well. And once we finish that, we need to look at how we protect ourselves, where we are and how we are engaging with the society around us. You know, a lot of these things are not surprise. You know, while I was saddened by this whole thing, was I surprised? No. I was not in the least surprised. You have killings of Muslims every day in an international scene. So this should not be something that shocks us, that it will come here and root itself on our soil. Okay. So let me get to a bit of the show today. I was going to show the trailer. I talked with Satana, and I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to hold off on the trailer. What I'm going to talk about, for some people may feel like, oh, preacher's being blasphemous or hating. It's not hating. You know, it's not hating. Imam Mufti Muhammad said, if you have a question, you are not being disobedient by trying to seek answers. So I'm not hating. In fact, this is probably a larger discussion, and I brought it up because it does have a lot to do with the behavior and the demeanor and what we accept as Muslims, particularly in the African American community. Now, this case is different, and there are going to be some details I can't divulge to you, but I'm going to take a very large view. If you remember the show I did about the Rami show, and how I addressed the Rami show. If you looked at how I addressed Hassan Minhaj's show, this is nothing new. So I want everybody to know that I'm not out of pocket. You can go look at those shows, and I felt like I gave pretty equitable arguments about what was going on. And to his credit, when I talk about Hassan Minhaj, he did call me, and we did have this conversation, a very needed conversation. That doesn't happen a lot. And what happens is we have these shows that feature in regard a very tangential relationship to Islam that's just enough to keep the storyline going. Because if you didn't have Islam in that space, then it wouldn't be as interesting, wouldn't be as funny, The jokes wouldn't be there. The gags won't be there. And I'm saying this as we're on the eve of a Muslim comedy festival that is meant to address these things. So listen, I'm not going to take up any more time. We have a packed show today. As you know, we're in the countdown to the Preacher Moss Muslim Comedy Festival being held at Union Stage in Southwest Washington. We're very excited. Our director, Mustafa Davis, has gotten here safely from Istanbul. Sister Satana has been doing the work of 300 people working like a Hebrew slave, trying to get these tickets and everything else straight and in accord. So I want to make sure that we give her flowers right now, because sometimes, and it's what I'm talking about right now. You know, we were introduced to something, and it was something that was introduced into a void. If the apparatus, the intel, the spirit, the esprit de corps was not there, just based around the fact that this show can't be a failure, that it has the word Muslim on it, it has the connotation of believers to it, that we couldn't fail. And so that, along with faith, allows for this show that's going to happen on Thursday. No knock to Us Hub, but I'm going to tell you something. When you do a show, everybody knows this. When you do a live event, there's a lot of legwork that happens. There's a lot of legwork from the time you sign a contract from the venue to the time you get the entertainers. And I'm here to tell you, it wasn't that the infrastructure was not there. What was there was a devoted community that has been in the Washington, D.C. area for years. And you can pick up the phone and tell people that, hey, this is mission critical. This is what I need. So this is really a testament to the Muslim community in Washington, D.C. And the people like Impact Hollywood that picked up the phone, and all the Manica Adventures and the charities and nonprofits. Shout out to Muhammad Oda and his wife Lauren. Shout out to Master Muhammad. Shout out to Mahmoud Kazmi. Shout out to all of you. Shout out to Omar Razinji, who through relationships, you can pick up the phone and say, this is the situation. There's no way on earth that we're supposed to be able to turn this thing around and pack this place in less than, hear me, less than 2 weeks. And that is not putting posters up in the masjid. We have no posters in the masjids. We have nothing on event calendar listings. This is people picking up the phone and going, we have to make it. The Sister Kofi's and the Sister Fitr Muhammad's. These people have been at the backbone of what we're about to do for a lot of time. And sadly, when it comes to opportunity to get your moment to shine, that you can acknowledge these people in these situations, all too often they're forgotten. They are somehow pushed to the side. They don't matter anymore. The value proposition is different. I'm here, and I'm going to talk about it today. I'm going to 100% talk about it today. You know why? Because I'm an OG. That's why. And I am invoking OG privilege to talk about these things. All right, let's go ahead and get started, Satana. All right, we are back. So before we get started on our topic today, let me go ahead and jump into our comment section. First up, we got Altaf Rashid, Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi barakatuh, dear brother. Thank you so much for supporting our show, man. I wish you were here. I wish everybody in the comment section was at the show, but you're going to be there in spirit. I'm going to ask for du'as and request du'as for this production. There are a lot of things that honestly could have gone wrong, but alhamdulillah, all praises do, these things went right. So I'm very happy about that, and just the overall scope that we did this thing with a parable about the power of Muslim unity, the power of the Muslim dollar, the power of the Muslim intellect, and we did it with du'as and faith And that's how we're going to do it. This is a tour led by Duaz and Faith. Just the same as Allah Made Me Funny was launched in 2003. We now have a different disposition, but we also have a different responsibility. And I think that this is a beautiful opportunity. So thank you so much. Next up, we got Mary Moss, Mama Son, who will be in the house tomorrow, inshallah. Down front, she's been at all Allah Made Me Funny shows of significance. She was in Toronto. She was in DC. She was at the Love Supreme taping. So she's been there. And for all of you that need to know, if there was a matriarch of Muslim comedy, she's it. Let me say it again. If there was a matriarch of Muslim comedy, hear me now, everybody. Dave Chappelle, Azur Usman, Mo Amer, all of y'all need to know that the matriarch of Muslim comedy was my mother, who took a gamble on a young man and had a dream, had a crazy idea that we could do comedy for Muslims in the most crucial of times following 9/11. And she followed me and she looked at what I was doing and then she believed. And she gave me part of her tax return to get a logo. And that logo is everything that you see now. So if you're going to watch the Mo Amer Show, that logo should be there. If you're going to watch Miss Marvel, the logo should be there. Rami should be there. Because everybody knows, or you will find out soon, the power of this community. Okay, so shout out to her. Next up, Adam. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Beloved, how you doing, sir? Appreciate it. Also want to give a shout out to Sister Coffee. I always say Kofi. I'm sorry. Sister Coffee, forgive me. I call her Kofi at the masjid anyway, but Sister Coffee, much love. Sister Nisa Muhammad. There's so much positive DNA to things being done that it doesn't even feel like 2022. It feels like 65. And I wasn't even born in 65. It feels like 68, 70 when you had a galvanized community that just got things done. I mean, we get it done for everybody, but back then the soul was there. So I'm happy to be a part of something where I feel the soul is there. All right, Adam. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, man. Thank you so much. Adam is a longtime supporter of Muslim comedy. The Allah Made Me Funny tour is going way back. I mean, this brother has been there for my family. He's been there for my career. And this is the exchange that Imam Wafdi Muhammad was talking about, that we can get together and I could talk about Adam and I could talk about how he's been there for my family and how we've had these connections. And then they're not these stratified lines of, oh, you're African American or you're Sunni, you're Sufi, you're a Salafi, you're black, you're white, you're Indian, you're Asian. We're not even doing that. This is just a very, very pure expression. I want people to know that. All right, Brother Eric. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Beloved, hope you keeping cool down there in Houston. I hope you're having a blessed day. And if I haven't said it before, man, peace and blessings to you and your family, man. Peace and blessings to you and your family. Appreciate you. Next up, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Bilal. Brother Bilal has family members coming to the show. I forgot the sister's name, but yeah, she got 4 tickets, Bilal. She got 4 tickets for the early show. This is what I mean about when people support a community idea. This is what I mean by when people support a community idea. Bilal stepped up. He told me, I didn't even know Bilal had spent time in the DC metropolitan area, but he was like, yep, he sent me a video of one of his family members that was the director of Bureau of DC Corrections. I actually watched the whole video too, man. Brother Lane was smart. He was sharp. But we actually, it's cool because you began to get all of these stories, man. All these stories. And shout out to your queen, Sister Sonia, wherever she is. All right, Satana, that's all I can get to it. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To Sister Satana, who I probably should have given you the day off. You've been working so hard. Trying to get this thing together, but she's coming into the city. Are you coming in tomorrow night or tomorrow morning? Probably tomorrow morning. Either way, yeah, you'll let me know. You got to make sure that your people are taken care of. I can't put her in an Uber. My mom would kill me. All right. So let's get to this thing. The dilemma of supporting the Mo Amer Show. Let me start by saying Mo Amer is my brother. Uh, I love him as my brother. I love him as Allah says, for the sake and mercy, for the sake and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I love my brother. But that stated, it doesn't mean that we're always going to agree. It doesn't mean that you can abdicate responsibility. When I took on Mo Amer for Allah Made Me Funny, it was for two reasons. One, he asked me if he could be a part of it. He was a comedian. That was one part of it. He wanted to be a part. But the second part was probably most important, was that he saw this as a place, if you will, to restructure himself and get his dean together. Now, this is very important. Restructure and get himself together in terms of his spiritual makeup, if you will, to realign some of his values. There were things I remember when I met Mo. I was like, I love you, but you can't do that. I said, that's not what we do. For where you're trying to go, that doesn't work. And let me say, we're always works in progress. Definitely a works in progress. But what happened was, and this happens a lot in the Muslim community, when you get away from things and the familiarity of Islam as a front thought, when you get away from the importance of this deen and you get into a space where people realize that for them to do what they need to do with you, that can't be a part of it. The reason I'm not showing the trailer is the show is shot in the city of Houston, A-Leaf, or a suburb of Houston. They shot an entire season and never visited the history and the significance of African-American Muslims in the Houston area. I can't understand that. And let me add that Mo Amer, or whoever was with Mo Amer, let me explain something to you. Your show is a direct benefit of the mercy and the struggle of African-American Muslims, particularly in Houston. That the first masjid that started off in a barbershop with the Nation of Islam. And Muhammad Ali came and said, we can't teach Islam out of a barbershop. And the generosity and the mercy, if you will, of those people is what I gave you. You understand what I'm saying? The mercy and the generosity of the people of the WD Muhammad community, the people of the Nation of Islam, that lineage is the kindness that was befallen. It was put in your hands. And there's no reciprocity. There's no recognition. That the first thing I want to do is talk about where I'm from, not what helped me frame me to stay here. The kindness. And so when I see shows like this, I say, well, man, even if you don't put me on, I'm okay. I said, but you have so much talent. You have so many people who could use a break, that could work on your crew, that could da-da-da. And I'm like, man, what is this about? And so my dilemma is, before we get up here and stomp our feet and clap our hands, what are we supporting? It's the same as Rami. For a particular reason, I never watched the Rami show on Hulu. But I tell you this, I wrote about Rami. I sent a letter. I sent an email to him. I called him. I never heard back from him. We had an engagement with Hassan Minhaj, who did call me back, and we talked about it. And I gave him the perspective of, before you get willy-nilly about how you see Islam, there are people who are still trying to live this religion. That La ilaha illallah is the only thing that separates some people from sanity and madness. and that we put it out on these screens for people to view us as sport and entertainment, it does stick in my craw because it becomes Muslim coonery. That we celebrate Muslim coonery. And the failure in this case, at least in this episode, or what I saw in the trailer, the failure to identify literally not where you come from, but the people who have supported you being here. Now, I don't say this often, but I'm going to say it. If there is no Allah Made Me Funny, if there's no Preacher Moss who was produced from the WD Muhammad community by way of the Nation of Islam, there is no Muhammad Amer special. There is no Muhammad Amer relationship with Dave Chappelle. There is no Muhammad Amer show on Netflix or specials. And I think the thing that I have to say to my community is that we have to hold people accountable, because people think that it's okay to take our narrative, to take our kindness and our generosity and do with it what they may, but not respecting who we are. And as you begin to really look around, I'm not saying there's a conspiracy, but I will say that there is frequency in the disappearance of two things. We talk about the African American narrative of Islam in America, there's a disappearance of that. But the next thing that's coming is that there's begun a disappearance of the actual Islamic narrative here in America or here in Canada. That these are the things that are being pulled back. You see, there was a show in Canada called Little Mosque on the Prairie. Some of you saw that show, some of you have not. Well, I know the sister who wrote the show, and we were doing Allah Made Me Funny before that. If Canada didn't have such a Canada's for Canadians type attitude, I probably could have wrote on the show. She was a beautiful sister. But what happened was when she got here to the United States, they scratched that narrative. In fact, they went to her and said, we're not going to promote this as is. So there was no further production of Little Mosque on the Prairie here in the United States. And now what we have, and what we are continuing to see, is that we have abridged versions of who we are as Muslims. Very abridged versions, very sanitized, I want to use the word gentrified representation of American Muslim life. And if you're following the breadcrumbs, the whole idea of American Muslim life is that it doesn't look like us. It doesn't look like us. And aside from that, we also have the problem now is that if this becomes the model, if you will, a successful model, then there'll be little, if any, chance to actually get our narrative out there. Or if you're getting out there, you have to go through these shows. That's what happened with Rami. So the African American narrative for Islam in America had to go through that channel, through those writers. It'll be the same thing for Mo Amer Show. And it's not an issue about let's keeping it real. It's just recognizing that it's real from the beginning. And as you begin to move forward, and I know we're getting close to time, but I'm just going to go ahead and talk this out. Shout out to Sister Ree. Assalamu alaikum, sister. Thank you so much for joining us. But I have this feeling, brothers and sisters, that the danger is if we don't say anything or have discussions like this, then it's going to be presented that we agreed with it. The unspoken issue is that this thing on TV because people don't know us, or they don't want to know us, or this is an opportunity not to have a conversation with us, that this thing is somehow okay. That the two black men that I saw in the trailer are rappers from the Houston area. And I don't begrudge Bun B or Toby, I can't say his name. I don't begrudge them. But in the city of Houston, there's no mention of the brilliance, of the hard work and effort of the people who pre-existed before you. That when you came, because the story is about being a refugee, I'm gonna tell y'all a secret, man. Y'all might not know this. Do the homework though. Mo Amer's first special was called Legally Homeless. I gave him that title. It was the name of his production company, Legally Homeless, and I gave him a blueprint of everything that you're seeing right now about how you'd put a show together that's going to be able to bring Muslims together, bring non-Muslims together. That was the formula. I did that. And let me explain to you. I did it, and I gave it freely, and I gave it with love, and I gave it with support. But here's the thing. When I do these things, I'm not looking, I give it freely. But what disappoints me is when I see that it's not being given freely to other people. You don't have to pay it forward to me, but you owe people in this community. Right now, we have a crisis in Palestine, but this won't be on the show because it messes up the numbers. It scares people. You're not going to be able to really talk about that. Maybe you will. Maybe the shows will dive into it. I don't know. I know Mo's sport, and I know they're trying to make it entertaining, humorous. But hey, man, real is real, bro. And I'm not saying, hey, you got to kick up to anybody. But hey, man, this community is a very, very special community. And if you're going to get out there and put out what you're going to put out, you know what? Include them. Include them. Be respectful. You know, everything ain't a joke. And I said about Muslim comedy, everything ain't a joke. And we all find ourselves in these situations sometimes, but I don't mind. You've heard me say it on the show. I'm the greatest Muslim community this community ever produced. Why? Because I wasn't afraid to see other people be great. I wasn't afraid to support other people being great. What does that mean? Does that mean that it started with me? No. It means that I had a community behind me that pushed me and supported me to be great in what I was doing. And that's the narrative. That's the disconnect. We hold up who we want to hold up. Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X, but there's a whole plethora of people that held up Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X. And the story is not being told. And as we get older, just like in the history books in Texas, they're going to write us out. And as we stand here today, August 24th, this thing's supposed to come out. Everybody that sees it, that's the narrative that they're getting. That this is the life here. It's not representative. Mo Amer, I love you, but I changed your life. I love you, but I changed your life. Now let me flip it around. The Houston Muslim community, particularly the African American Muslim community, changed your life by merely opening our arms and showing you love that we have been shown in many regards, but showing you love that had been denied to us. And so when I see these shows, brothers and sisters, I'm not quick to jump up and light a match and stomp my feet. I may be wrong, and hopefully I am wrong, that he will reach out to these communities. He'll reach out to Masjid Warthan Muhammad. He'll reach out to Masjid Al-Quran. He'll reach out to Ibrahim Islamic Center. He'll reach out to Masjid Talim. He'll reach out to these people and say, how can I help you? Thank you. How can I help you? Because that's all we ever wanted. All right. So that's our show. Quick note. I think we have a few tickets left. Satana, you want to jump in here? I know she don't want to jump in. If you still want tickets, we have some left. I'm gonna give out 5 tickets. There's no tickets. Satana said, "Don't even give out tickets today." All right, if you want tickets, I'm not saying you're gonna get them, but please go to permissiblelaughter@gmail.com if you're in the DC area. Go to permissiblelaughter@gmail.com. Tickets are going. We have free com tickets. You know how it is with free, first come, first serve. So I just want people to go out there, and I want to give a shout out to so many people who have, again, you know who you are, Muhammad Oder, uh, Sister Kafi, all those folks. I'm just saying that, you know, we want to make sure that this is real stuff. Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We got a comment. I'm going over today, Satana. What's the? It said Facebook. I'm not gonna say Mo Amer is their boy. Mo Amer is my boy. He's still my brother. I started out by saying Mo Amer is my boy. And this is from Adam. If Ben and Jerry and Rashida Tlaib can use their platforms, Palestine, why can't Mo Amer? Okay, well, you know, you have to take that with Mo Amer. And I'm gonna throw this out here. Adam knows Mo Amer. So that's how, you know, I'm not even gonna that's where we are with this thing. But listen, I want everybody to know that this conversation was held in the best of intentions. That I have been called on the carpet at times for not using my platform the right way and not reaching back at times, not often. And I knew when I wasn't, so I tried to correct myself. But I have always tried to, when I knock down the door, try to bring people through the door or through the window, or however we try to do it. So maybe it's just a lost art. Maybe I'm out of date. Maybe I'm a dinosaur. I don't know. But honestly, I don't think so. Because I'm taking my lead from my book. I'm taking my lead from Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. I'm taking my lead from my teachers, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, my teachers, Imam W.D. Muhammad, my teachers, Honorable Louis Farrakhan, my teachers, Dick Gregory, my teachers, brothers and sisters. So this is not coming from a void, okay? So peace and blessings. I don't know if we're going live tomorrow. You might get a pre-recorded show. Either way, you're gonna have a nice show. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me because we're 3 minutes over. And God bless, man. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope that you have an amazing day. May Allah continue to bless you. I'm Preacher Moss. This is the ShOUT Show.